Welcome back to the Tech and Innovation stage for our next session, which features Infront X, Infront's digital arm, and its new Infront X Lab strategic initiative, which identifies new monetisation avenues from evolving digital content formats and distribution models by providing access to the industry's most innovative and novel solutions and through collaborations with leading startup companies. It's a really fascinating project, and we're really looking forward to hearing about it. As usual, with all these sessions, your questions are more than welcome. They will come direct to me through the session via the official Leaders app. It's the best app in town, so if you haven't already downloaded it, do that right now. Click on Speaker Interaction and you will be able to ask your question. The other way to do that, if you don't want to download the app, don't know why, but if you don't want to do that, go to slido.com, S-L-I-D-O. Hashtag leaders is the code that you need, and you'll be able to ask away. Right, let's get into this session with Infront X, and here to tell us more about it and how it all works is Julien Schiess, Head of Commercial EU at Infront X, and Graeme Thewliss, the Digital Content Manager at the Scottish Premier Football League.
Very good morning. Thank you very much for being with us. We heard some pretty late drinks yesterday evening, so I hope you're all doing okay. Rehydrated, refreshed with coffee. My name is Julien. I'm from Infront X. We're from the Tech, Digital and Innovation arm of Infront Sports and Media Group. And we will be talking about the next 40 minutes around innovation, about technology, and about content automation. And Graeme, with me today from the Scottish Professional Football League, will be giving his perspective on the work we've been doing together. But first of all, I wanted to start by talking a little bit about the session yesterday. Yesterday morning in the Aula, we had Josh telling us a little bit about his work with clubs, about the ownership of different clubs, but also about fan engagement. He was mentioning how communities are important. And I think besides the fact that we were all cramped in the Aula, and in the first kind of, even physically, this was a bit weird to be that many people in the same room with people coughing all over. I think he made a lot of great points. And when we're talking about the industry, about everything we're doing here, at the end of the day, fan engagement is what is fueling everything we're trying to do and fueling our revenue streams. And I think he insisted a lot yesterday about the communities, about the fans, about being close to them. And for us, from the group, this is something that we are experiencing for a long time in terms of media and sponsorship, and for a little bit less time in terms of digital. And that means that the problem for all of us is basically to be able to grow audiences. And you know, on TV has been around for a long time, so it's established. And in digital, we need to grow, we need to invest, and I think also Josh Harris yesterday also made this pretty clear, also talking about private equity, bringing capital, making investment for all of us to be able to have better product, to be able to actually tackle that challenge. How do we capture more audiences, and how do we keep them engaged throughout everything you guys have to offer and we have to offer as a group? That's the main challenge. And what we've been doing on our side is that we've been investing heavily in the last months, in the last years, into technology, into skills, to tackle those problems. I think 2021 and before COVID, we realized that because of the market is so fragmented, we have so many things to do. There is a lot of pressure on the teams, on the resources. You cannot have 100 people working on marketing, on content. You need to have some support. And we're a very strong believer that technology is here to support all of us, to enhance the sports experiences. And this is very key because he mentioned this yesterday as well. He said we need to be able to bring better experiences to fans for them to stay longer with us. And at the end of the day, that will mean that we will all be better if more people are coming to what we offer and they're staying longer. So on our side, we're spending really a lot of time. We have now a team in Israel that is connected with the startup scene and with the tech scene. So we really sit at an intersection between sport, business, and technology. And obviously, we want to shape the future as well. There is some great things. Maybe some of you met Eyal from Video Sites. He was here at the conference. Video Sites is a company we invested into. They basically invented Shazam for videos. So we're here to find the new big thing in sports because, again, we're all facing the same challenges. The way we're structuring our work, before we talk a little bit with Graeme about the work we've been doing, is we focus on three main areas. We've been talking to a lot of clients, also from the Infront group, but also around the industry, around innovation. It's currently a buzzword, one of the many buzzwords that are flying all over the place. But at the end of the day, innovation is a platform and is a process that needs to be managed. We're not believing into the PR innovation scheme, though it's good to make PR, it's good to make pilots, it's good to use it for communication purpose, but at the end of the day, innovation needs to help you to get closer to your objectives. And so on our side, we spend a lot of time to be as concrete as possible. We've been doing some work with a Bundesliga club in Germany, FC Cologne. They were struggling with the innovation process to drive very concrete results, and we came in and we helped them to structure the platform. This can take several forms. We can, organize like hackathon if this is something that helps to drive the results. We can do innovation days, and basically we're spending a lot of time on the market to filter, which is the second point. We are, as I said, investing a lot of time. We have resources now. We're scouting the market. We have more than 2,000 startups on our database. And here the idea is that for the Infront group, we needed to be able to bring technologies that are relevant, but also that already have a market fit. And when we talk to a lot of federation, clubs, governing bodies, and the people like you in the room, not everyone has the capabilities and the resources to spend time on tech. So obviously, if you're a very big organization, you will have people that understand technology. You will have technology people within the organization that understand what that means. But for a lot of small organizations, those are not necessarily resources they have or time they can spend. So earlier this week, we were talking to a Bundesliga 2 club in Germany, and the Secretary General or the MD is actually talking to startups for pilots. It's good, but that should not be his role, right? Because you spend a lot of energy, you spend a lot of time, and you have a lot of noise on the market. So we're here to filter that out and then bring certain startups into the venture. So we're also the venture arm of the group, so we're making investments. And then finally, when, for certain problems we don't necessarily find technology, we're creating products ourselves. And this is what we'll be talking the rest of the presentation with Graeme. At the same time, we are not a charity, you're not a charity. And as I said, innovation for PR is great. That makes people talk, this makes nice LinkedIn posts, but you need to make sure that this helps you to increase your revenues, and this can help you to increase revenues. We divide those revenue streams in 5. We're talking about broadcast media. How do you create more values for the broadcast partners? How do you enhance the second screen experiences? So yesterday there was a chat about live-like. This is exactly that. In terms of digital media, how do you create more data storytelling at scale? How do you personalize content? How do you automate this? So we'll be discussing this into details with Graeme. And then obviously, how do you create value for the sponsors? How do you make revenues on your ad tech? This is something that is surprisingly not leveraged too much, especially on the governing body side. People are scared to put ads on websites. But at some point, if you don't want to create digital assets and you don't want to put ads, usually making digital revenues it starts to be complicated. And finally, there is all the consumer aspect of it. How to create more value in terms of tickets, how do you create better experiences so people drop less, how do you increase basically the conversion and make more money out of it. So we bring on the table like all the experience for the Infront group, so our understanding of the sport business, but with this very let's say, focus now on technology, product, and solutions. We have our colleagues in the US as well, so we have a big team in the US, and now we're increasing the footprint. And the idea is for us to understand what you're trying to achieve and deploy technology. And again, the idea is for us to save time to the clients, because again, not all of you have technology people. Now, we wanted to spend a bit of time with Graeme to talk about actually a very concrete case, and I will move here on the stage. And we've been working with the Scottish Professional Football League around innovation and around content automation. And the idea was to help them to basically grow their audiences, but also grow the profile and the media value of the product. And maybe to start, Graeme, if you would, introduce a little bit your role and the SPFL, and also what is the team structure and what you're trying to do for our friends here.
Sure. I'm Graeme, the Digital Content Manager at the SPFL. I'm one of 2 digital staff at the SPFL, one of 14 full-time staff at the SPFL as well. As Julien says, a lot of organisations, and ourselves included, do not have dozens of people based in marketing, based in PR. There is a commercial team, and then there's myself and my colleague Sean is the digital team. We cover 2 cup competitions, 4 leagues, 42 clubs, and 650 plus matches over the course of a season. The variance in Scottish football, as I'm sure you're aware, in terms of the diversity of the clubs we have. Presumably the majority of you will know who Rangers and Celtic are, and that filters down through a level of scales down to clubs like Edinburgh City and Kelty Hearts, who are very small teams who have joined the SPFL in the last 10 years. It's a huge offering, and we do our very best to try and ensure that each of those 42 clubs are treated equally by the centre at the SPFL, and we do our very best to ensure that a great goal from Edinburgh City is given the same amount of respect and the same amount of airtime and the same amount of love as a great goal in an Old Firm game, for example. We make sure that everyone gets the airtime that they deserve, and our main aim is to promote Scottish football as best as we possibly can and ensure that everyone is seeing the very best of Scottish football, whether it is, as I say, big, small, it's all the same. A goal's a goal, a great goal's a great goal, a great moment's a great moment, a great save's a great save. Everyone deserves that amount of love within there. As I say, there's 2 of us as the digital team. Me as the digital manager, I take care of all various forms and various hats, and I had a conversation with someone during the week who said that's certainly not your remit. I'm pretty sure everything's my remit. If it arrives on my desk, then it's my remit. So yeah, I'll help you with that. That's no problem at all. And as I say, my colleague Sean, who has essentially on a weekly basis worked his fingers to the bone, creating content, making content, and sharing that to ensure that people get to see that as well.
Thanks, Graeme. And 650 games to cover with 2 people. I mean, at some point you need to run the math. It's difficult, and it's also difficult because at the end of the day, the SPFL is competing against all entertainment genre, right? So there is fragmentation on the market within the football, but also like within entertainment. So the question is, how do we stay relevant, but also how do you scale up the production and how do you remain relevant? And we found out that the challenges that you see here on the screen are pretty much valid across the industry. Certainly for us as a group, so we're producing content for clients, and there is never enough people. You never have enough money to hire an agency to create cool content. At the same time, you need to create content for more and more platforms. You have workflows that tend to be difficult. So we had discussed with people, they use 10 different tools, and they use Teams and WhatsApp and Excel for the content plan, which if that works for them, great, but probably this can be a little bit more efficient. And the planning exercise is very difficult because at least for a league in football, but generally for most of the sports, there is a lot of things that are repetitive. Like you have the games over the weekend, it plays at 4 p.m. kickoff. There are things that are repetitive, and therefore, on our side, we thought that technology can help to support. And finally, the analytics and media value is something that people are struggling with as well, which also was a pain point there. Any challenge that was for you? I mean, obviously we talked about the resources, but for you, the platforms, workflows, can you tell us a bit more how this was?
As you say, and I'm sure this is common for a lot of people as well, we had, in order to access all the platforms and in order to make sure that we were sharing things properly, particularly in the last 18 months where we've not been, I think I've been in the office 4 times in 18 months. There's a lot of when I received a new iPhone from work, it was magic because I could bin all the stuff which was basically a year's worth of content that I'd been WhatsApping around to ourselves. It was a case of emailing it or Google Drives or Dropbox, trying to locate all that content. There are any number of sort of pinch points in your workflows, whether it's a case of just being unable to find it because you can't remember whether that was in the Dropbox or the Google Drive, or whether it was sent on WhatsApp. All of these things slowed us down, and particularly through Content X, the main and overwhelming thing that we've received is just more time. As I said, we don't have a huge team, we don't have a huge number of people with us, we don't have a huge amount of money behind us at the centre either. And time is the resource that I think everybody needs more of. It gives us time to curate more content, it gives us more time to focus on digging out the great moments from League Two, where the footage is harder to find and harder to get a hold of. Now that's what we spend our time doing, because as Julien says, there are things that have to appear every single week. There have to be match previews, there have to be league table graphics, there have to be all of these things that happen every single week, and it's the kind of churn content which takes up a huge amount was taking up a huge amount of our time, which took away from our ability to be creative and show the very best of bits of Scottish football which are slightly more challenging to access, and that was the difference that it's made for us in the last 18 months is just night and day, and time is the key factor for us in every essence.
And so when we were working on those challenges within the group, as I explained before, we're working on those pain points, trying to find technology. In that specific case, we were not happy with what was existing on the market. And as a lab, as an innovation team, we need to be nimble. At the end of the day, we're here to help you to win. And we decided to create a product ourselves at the end of the day. So nothing really worked. So we said, okay, we'll do it ourselves. And so we created Content X, which is kind of a unique all-in-one social media automated content management platform. What that means, and we will talk about the result later and how Graeme has been using it, but essentially we are able to automate the planning of your content and then the creation, publishing, and distribution. So you can see here on that screen, for example, all the infographics for the SPFL, the highlights, the clips. We're able to create that automatically. And what we're trying to achieve with it is, there is a lot of discussion around automation, and I hope that you will have questions, because this is a topic I love to discuss about after, is, automation is not here to replace anyone, but it's there to give you superpowers. And, the best way to describe it is like if you go up a hill with a bicycle, why not having a small engine that helps you, right? You're still in control, but you arrive faster and you not sweat. And so this is the idea behind Content X. The idea is to really help the content team, help the marketing team to scale more, but also to save time for the more creative tasks. And so Graeme can talk about this, but what we want people to have from this is you increase the output, because obviously you plug in a technology engine, so you're able to certainly do more at scale. And the whole idea is to do more, but to make it more relevant. So again, if we go back to the main challenge, which is to create better product for our fans, to drive fan engagement up, it's not enough to just do more. We need to do more, and that more needs to be better. And at the same time, that needs to be able to save time to the clients and also then create more opportunities, because suddenly that content can be distributed also automatically to broadcast partners, to brands, to influencers. And so we think that kind of the sky is the limit. We're currently trying to understand what are all the other things we can do with the product. But maybe, Graeme, if you can tell us a little bit what that changed for you. And here, for me, the big topic is automation. Content X is a product we build, but the automation topic is very key. I think that needs to come for all of us that wants to scale and create more opportunities. At some point, automation needs to be in the equation. So why don't you walk us through one of those points?
Yes, certainly. And automation has been it was something that we've been presented various things in the past. And sort of discussed it, and it never really felt like it was quite a good fit for us. It did feel to a degree that it was sort of ceding control to the fear of something going wrong, essentially, as well, within that as well. With Content X, automation of statistical graphics, full-time graphics, league tables, and particularly video for us as well, has given us a huge step forward. Again, I keep coming back to it because it's fundamentally the main difference that it's made from us, and it's saved us a huge amount of time. things that would take on a Monday morning, instead of being 3/4 of the day in terms of clipping up video because it was something we had to do ourselves because it wasn't automated, putting that all together and then sharing that was the best part of 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon until that was completed. Now it's done by 10 o'clock in the morning because when we arrive on Monday morning, all the video was there, all the video is ready to go. It looks great, it's in great resolution, it's a case of just pressing buttons and then off it goes. And that's a huge step forward for us as well. That is all saved centrally within the media library for us as well, so it's not a case of creating it, uploading it to Facebook, uploading it to Twitter, uploading it to Instagram, uploading it to YouTube. It sits in our media library and then it's distributed across all 4 platforms, which are the main ones we use. There are other ones I believe you can include within it, but that's 4 platforms for 2 guys felt like enough for us, certainly.
And to be fair, Graeme, you were also skeptical at the start, right? Because we have a lot of discussion with people, and out of the bat, like, we don't believe you. We don't think this is doing what you says it's doing. And you were, like, naturally or normally, you were part of that wagon at the start, right?
Yeah, you'll all have been given sales pitches of this will change your life, this will do the different things for you, this will make your life easier a million times over. And again, I imagine you'll all be much the same as me, and you have a degree of skepticism within that as well. Working with, as Infront, our partner of ours, working with them and the process in which it went through and the way it was explained, it all sounded great, and then it's delivered. It's delivered the platform that they said they would do. It's given us access to, as Julien says, to create things which are personalised at scale in a way which we simply couldn't do before. With 2 of us in our fat hands tapping away at computers, we couldn't do the things that we do now. We couldn't create them quickly enough. We'd tried it in the past, in creating templates in Photoshop and Canva and doing bits and pieces like that, and it simply wasn't something that we were able to do by the time they were created and shared. The moment it passed, it was 45 minutes later, it was an hour later, so you've missed the moment. Now, within 5 minutes of full-time, our full-time graphics have the stats there, they're created, there's great imagery on them. We had a bit of time to include sponsors in there as well, so they're all along a particular branding which follows us as well. And then as an example, I'd taken the opportunity to go and see my team play football on a Saturday afternoon. We had the 4 fixtures. Between leaving there and walking home, I'd logged onto my mobile, I'd shared all the fixture graphics, I'd shared the full-time graphics, I'd shared the league table, and I walked into the front door, and that was the 15 minutes between walking from the stadium to my front door. We unfortunately at the moment don't have live clipping rights, but again, in looking through the media library, those are all there and ready to go as well. They've happened during the game, they've been clipped out. Had we the rights, we could post them and share them there and then. At the moment we don't. Hopefully that's something we can work on in the future so we can do that, because it wasn't something that previously we were able to do as an organisation. We didn't have the access to that footage, we didn't have access to the automated footage to share immediately. Now we do, and that goes for our broadcast partners as well. We have the advocacy board within there as well, where we have a number of our international broadcasters, so we send them preview content on a Thursday or Friday afternoon, which we've created because, again, we have the time to create more curated content for our live matches at the weekend to ensure that they're being shown in the best way that they possibly can. It's dropped in there. It's then distributed to either clubs or the media partners we have as well, and it's a 5-minute process. It's not dropping it into a Google Drive and then sending it out to an email to 40 people, which you'd inevitably have to do twice because you've missed someone off your email list and you've never really dropped it in to update it. The workflows are just so much simpler, so much easier for us now.
And can you tell us a bit more like the work with the clubs? So obviously SPFL being a league, you have the club members. They all have the same challenges. They all try to find solution. Within the group, we strongly believe that leagues have a role to play in centralizing a couple of technologies, a couple of services for the benefit of the clubs. What has been the response from the clubs, or like what kind of demand do they have for you as a league, and how do you think this can help?
This season we had some tests last season with a few clubs with our advocacy board in terms of sharing footage. Again, clubs are bound by holdbacks for ourselves, which is a centralised issue which we're working on, and at some point hopefully in the future will change a little bit for us as well. But again, the distribution of highlights, the distribution of graphics, the distribution of all of that is always going to be a challenge for us, or certainly in the past it was a challenge for us. Now again, we're at the point where we're just about looking to turn on full automation of that as well, so that it's distributed to clubs. the clubs can then post it with however they want to do that. If they want to post it directly with the copy that we've provided, they can do that. If they want to change it, they can do that. They can add sponsors to it as well. It's entirely up to themselves in terms of how they want to do that, and that's the idea of being able to fully automate that on a Monday afternoon again when the clubs have the rights to do that. Just a case of it just happens. It's now something which was a job which is now taken off us entirely, and the way in which the footage is automated. Again, I hold my hands up, and I was entirely sceptical of it, partially to a large degree because I didn't understand it. Like, I tried really hard to understand it, but the algorithms in terms of how it worked were created by people that were much smarter than I am. I've now seen what it creates for us as well, and it's something which is it's a job which is no longer our job, which again just leads to more free time for us in that respect as well.
And so for us, like what we've been learning in the last months, and we continue to learn, so I think automation is something that is still in the early adoption phase. Obviously, we have our friends from WC Sport that have been there for a long time, but I think in terms of publishing, packaging content, we're still learning, and we're also on our side learning what kind of opportunities we can unlock. So when Graeme talks about sharing content to broadcasters, our media colleagues, they're trying to sell the rights in Japan, for instance. Now there is a Japanese player for Celtic. Well, before it was not possible to share the clips from that player that fast and automatically with the right graphics, with the right bumper in, bumper out. And this helps us as a group as well, because we also help these people to grow on the media side. This helps the media people to share actually more content. And at the same time, and to come back to what we said, the idea is always to help to drive more revenue. So it should always help you to increase one of the five. And what we're really learning is, again, the more for more is not working. We need to bring more relevance, and so for us, the key really to unlock this is to be able to scale and personalize. And if we're able to do this, I think we're on the path to create better product, and then for all of you, for all of us, to grow the audiences and to be able to monetize them a little bit more. Before we take some questions in the last 10 minutes, I'd like to spend a bit more time here on what that meant for you as well in terms of creativity, because so you have the automation side, which is interesting, but then we didn't know how much time people would save and what they would be doing with that time. And I think when we were discussing the past days, you told me that, okay, and we will show you the slides with the result at the end, so bear with us, but there is all the automation part that grew the audience a lot. But at the same time, and I was checking the numbers, and I told you, hey, but you guys became a lot better on the content that you still do manually, right? And then you told me, yeah, but we have so much more time that you can be better at it. So it would be nice if you could explain that process, and also talk a little bit about how you changed, like what changed in the content strategy, and also why now it's so much better.
Yeah, I think we all know that the content which generally, we've all done it where we've sunk hours and hours into something which goes absolutely nowhere, but aside from that, but broadly, the content which you've curated, the content that you've spent more time and a bit more love into to show something at its very best, which, as I say, that's our job, that's what we look to do, is to try and show Scottish football in its very best light at all times. And now we have the opportunity to do that. As I said previously, something which was a case of that would take 3/4 of your day up. Now it's done by 10 o'clock in the morning. That frees up a huge amount of time in order to, as you can see, spend a bit of time making and digging out spending more time finding lower league footage. We had one in particular which was from a club from Kirkcaldy called Wraith Rovers, which looked very much like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. It was perfect ticky-tacky football from the goalkeeper to the striker, which, it's in Kirkcaldy, it doesn't really do Barcelona all that often, but they scored this incredible goal, which, because again we spent the time digging that out and giving it the right sort of love, it was, I think, 2.5 million views just out of nowhere, and that was a Monday afternoon. It wasn't the busiest time of the week for it. It was just a case of, well, this is something which is great, we'll give it the love, we'll give it the respect, we'll show people what it is, which was fantastic, and we're really pleased with that. And we've had a number of those lower league clips, but just because it's a little bit special in Scottish lower league football, again, we believe is a little bit special, it's a little bit different to what everything else is. and showing it in that light is what we like to do. It gives us the time for, as you say, reactionary content around the time of the Super League. We took the advantage of having a bit of time to highlight, well, Scottish football isn't the Super League, but it's Scottish football and it's football as it should be. We had the afternoon to do that because we had the time to do that because we'd cleared all of our preview content away. And all of these bits and pieces as well, like the post-match infographics, as I mentioned briefly before, we'd spent a bit of time trying to do that ourselves in terms of digging out the stats and full time, and it just never worked. It never performed. It never gave us that opportunity. Now it's something which we do every single week, and the engagement we get off it is ridiculous for what is essentially just here's full time, or here's the league table as well. It's a huge benefit for us, and it's something that we just weren't engaging with before. In addition to that as well, a huge part of whole football is sentiment, as you say, the sentimental content, and it's the archive footage, and it's having the time to dig through the archive and find the very best moments from that as well. Unfortunately, it's a case of trying to learn things from before I was born, because that's what people want to see as well. It's the things that pull at the heartstrings as well, and all of these are things that we have the opportunity to do, and it was something which, as Julien said, kind of took us by surprise. It wasn't something we were necessarily anticipating just having as much time as we did, but we've made the most of it at every opportunity we have.
I think, like, you know, to go back to the image of the bicycle with the electric engine, I think we've been learning together how to best use the engine. I think at first, like, this is a change of mindset from, you know, creating every piece of content, planning it, and then having that engine that helps. I think you guys did a great job. You understood as well how this can help. So again, from skepticism to kind of embracing and pushing through. And, you know, if we look at the results, like, we're super happy to see this kind of results. Like, what we're trying to do with our team, with Infront X, is really bring technology to try to enhance fan experiences. And here we created the product because we were not happy of what was on the market. And, you know, the SPFL doubled all their social KPIs. You can see it on the screen. So not only the output doubled with the same 2 people, but the engagement rate also doubled. So they created 2 times more and 2 times better, while saving 52 days of work per year. So again, to go back to what you explained, you have more time to create cool content. And the ROI as well is double. So for us as a group, it's amazing to see. This validates what we believe in, which is that technology is here to support and help. Obviously, you know, I mean, there is a philosophical debate about technology, but it's not for today. But I think if used well and you know, if we try to deploy something that helps to reach the objectives, this is the kind of results that we see. So yeah, it was very exciting, and thank you for cooperation on the project. We have more clients on the platform, but I think now it's time for Q&A.
Indeed. Thank you very much, both. We've got a couple of questions that have come in during the session that I would like to fire straight at you. First one to Graeme, building on what you were talking about. I mean, you referenced a few pieces of content. What's the piece of content you're most proud of, and why was it so successful?
I would say having the opportunity to sort of dive into the Super League debate in our own way, in our own tone, in order to highlight. We'd been looking for a moment to try and launch what the next season's sort of tagline for us was going to be, and we saw that opportunity, we took it. The engagement we got on it was frankly ludicrous as well, and it was just a moment of highlighting, like, this is what we are. And Scottish football kind of outside of Scottish football and within Scottish football, people have a lot of opinions in terms of what it can be, what it should be, and whatever else. But certainly from an SPFL perspective and from a digital perspective, it was an opportunity to highlight, this is what we believe in, this is what we believe Scottish football is and should be, and this is what it is.
We had a question as well. You were talking about automation, and I think there was one of the stats up there was it 52 hours per year that you're saving, which is impressive. 52
days.
Yeah, 52 days. Sorry, 52 days. 52 hours would be less impressive. But what's the education process like within the organisation in terms of, as you're producing more content across more platforms? As we all know, the content ecosystem is becoming ever more complicated. How are you educating your different departments internally, commercial team, other people who need to be involved, and other stakeholders outside the organisation, and sort of taking them with you on this journey?
To a degree, because the SPFL is such a small organisation, I'd phone them and speak to them broadly. But as well as that, it's highlighting, look, this is ensuring that people know exactly what the next step and everything that we're going to be doing and what that is. The move to automation as well brought along, again, having been involved in the process and developing it, I understood it a little bit more. Some colleagues were sort of vaguely sceptical and vaguely worried about that as well, and highlighting, but again, it was a case of we were ensuring that anything that we were using was well tested before we got there. There was always an approval process and everything that we're doing, so it was very simple to say, like, this is where we are, this is what we're creating, this is an example of exactly what it's going to look like, and this is how it's going to appear and be shown. The flip side of that as well is ensuring that people are followed up afterwards with, well, as you saw the numbers at the end there, explaining like this is what we've worked on and this is what it has done. Unfortunately, because I highlighted this is what we've done, I had to write a much more detailed board paper that year as well, because people wanted to know more about what we were doing.
And Julien, we are just about out of time, but I do want to give you the opportunity just to say a little bit about where Infront X Lab goes from here, where you want it to go, how you want it to evolve and grow over the coming years.
Yeah. So on our side, we have, Content X is the first product we launched at the start of the year. We're launching in 2 weeks Destination X, which is another product that we build ourselves. At the same time, we're working very closely with our startup partners, and we have a pipeline of product that is full. So we're ramping up our product team. And hopefully, continue to invest in great startup and build product with them and also with you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us. Really interesting conversation. Julien, Graeme, great for you to be here, and thank you to all of you for coming as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.